In the shadows of true crime, some killers blend in so well, their evil remains hidden for years. Picture a humble servant in Brittany, France, Helene Jegado, moving from home to home, her reputation spotless, her presence comforting. Yet, wherever she worked, sudden, inexplicable deaths followed. Jegado's story is not one of bloody violence, but of quiet, calculated poisonings. Her weapon, trust. In 19th century Brittany, where disease was common and medical knowledge limited, her crimes went unnoticed. Doctors blamed cholera or fever, never suspecting the cook. Jegado's legacy is a chilling reminder. Sometimes the greatest threats are those we welcome into our homes. Her case would become a cornerstone in the early study of serial murder, especially among women. Helene Jegado's method was chillingly simple, a dark secret hidden within the everyday routines of domestic life. She operated with a cold, calculated precision, turning the very acts of care and sustenance into instruments of death. Her story is a stark reminder that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places, masked by familiarity and trust. She poisoned those she served, not with dramatic flair or obvious malice, but with a subtle, insidious touch that left no immediate trace. Her victims, unsuspecting and vulnerable, never realized the source of their suffering until it was far too late. As a cook and caregiver, she had intimate access to every meal, holding the power of life and death in her hands. She knew the ingredients, the recipes, and the routines of the kitchen, transforming this space of nourishment into a chamber of horrors. And every sickbed, she tended to the ill, offering false comfort while secretly administering the poison that would seal their fate. Her presence was a constant, a shadow lurking in the corners of the sick room, unnoticed and unchallenged. Arsenic, known as inheritance powder, was her tool, a readily available substance with a sinister reputation. Its subtle nature made it the perfect weapon for her dark deeds, allowing her to inflict suffering without raising suspicion. Easily bought, tasteless, and deadly. In the 19th century, regulations were lax, and arsenic was easily accessible, making it a favored choice for those with murderous intent. Its properties allowed it to blend seamlessly into food and drink, masking its presence until the damage was done. She would add it to coffee, a morning ritual turned into a deadly trap. The bitter taste of the arsenic would be easily disguised by the strong flavor of the coffee, making it virtually undetectable to the unsuspecting drinker. Or soup, a comforting meal transformed into a vessel of death. The warmth and aroma of the soup would mask the presence of the poison, offering a false sense of security to those who consumed it, mimicking the symptoms of common illnesses. This allowed her to deflect blame and avoid detection, as doctors and family members alike would attribute the victim's suffering to natural causes. Victims suffered violent stomach pains, an agonizing symptom that mimicked a variety of ailments, further obscuring the true cause of their suffering. The pain would often be dismissed as a passing illness, allowing Jegado to continue her deadly work undetected. But no one suspected foul play. The idea that a trusted servant, a member of the household, could be responsible for such a heinous act was simply unthinkable. This blind trust allowed Jegado to operate with impunity, leaving a trail of death in her wake. Jegado's role as a trusted servant, a seemingly indispensable part of the household, provided the perfect cover for her crimes. She was seen as a caregiver, a helper, someone to be relied upon, making it all the more difficult to imagine her as a cold-blooded killer. Allowed her to operate undetected for nearly 2 decades, moving from household to household, leaving a trail of unexplained deaths in her wake. Her ability to evade suspicion for so long is a testament to her cunning and the societal biases of the time. In household after household, illness struck, leaving families devastated and confused. The recurring pattern of sickness and death went largely unnoticed, attributed to bad luck or the prevalence of disease in the 19th century. And she was always there, nursing, comforting, and quietly killing. Her presence became a macabre constant, a harbinger of death disguised as an angel of mercy. She played her role perfectly, earning the trust and gratitude of those she was secretly poisoning. Her position gave her both motive and means, allowing her to carry out her deadly plan with chilling efficiency. She had access to the poison, the food, and the victims, making her the perfect perpetrator of these heinous crimes, making her one of history's most insidious domestic predators. Her story serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life, hidden behind a mask of normalcy and trust. The families never saw the danger in their midst, blinded by their trust in a woman who was secretly plotting their demise. They welcomed her into their homes, unaware that they were inviting an angel of death into their lives. Arsenic was the perfect weapon for Jegado, odorless, tasteless, and easily hidden in food. In the 1800s, it was everywhere. Rat poison, flypaper, even household remedies. As a servant, she could buy it without question, always under the guise of keeping the house clean. The symptoms of arsenic poisoning, vomiting, pain, dehydration, were indistinguishable from common diseases. Doctors rarely suspected murder, especially from a servant with no obvious motive. Poisoning allowed Jegado to kill without confrontation, maintaining her image as a caring helper. She simply stirred the fatal dose into a meal and watched events unfold. This emotional distance may have enabled her to continue for so long. Her method was as invisible as it was deadly. Over 18 years, a chilling tapestry of tragedy was woven across the landscape of Brittany. Marie Jegado, under the guise of a humble servant, left a trail of death across Brittany. Her actions, seemingly random at first glance, painted a sinister picture of calculated malice. At least 23 deaths were confirmed, each meticulously investigated and documented, but the true number may have exceeded 60. The whispers of the deceased echoed through the villages, a testament to the scale of her crimes. The full extent of her dark deeds may never be truly known, lost to the passage of time and the imperfect records of the era. Her victims were men, young and old, strong and frail, women, mothers, daughters, wives, each life extinguished with cold precision, children, anyone in her care. No one was safe from her insidious touch. The bonds of family and community offered no protection against the darkness she carried within. The pattern was always the same. She'd start a new job, ingratiate herself into the household, and soon, people would fall ill and die, their bodies ravaged by an unseen poison. Even her own sister, a bond of blood offering no immunity, and the local priest perished under her watch, their faith unable to shield them from her deadly intent. After each tragedy, Jegado would move on, slipping away like a phantom, expressing sorrow and leaving behind grieving families, their lives shattered, their hearts forever scarred. Her constant movement, a nomadic dance with death, made it nearly impossible to connect the deaths, to see the sinister thread that bound them together. For a decade, she seemed to stop poisoning, a lull in the storm, turning to theft instead. Historians speculate she lost access to arsenic, her preferred instrument of death. But in 1851, the killings resumed in Rennes, a chilling return to form, and the pattern became too obvious to ignore. The coincidences mounted, the suspicions grew, and the truth began to surface. The cycle of trust, death, and departure finally began to unravel, the threads of her carefully constructed deception finally snapping under the weight of her crimes. Her reign of terror, a dark chapter in the history of Brittany, was nearing its end. Justice was coming. Jegado's outward piety was her greatest disguise. In Catholic Brittany, she was seen as a model servant, devout, humble, and trustworthy. She prayed at her victims' bedsides, urged confessions, and led families in mourning. Her religious devotion disarmed suspicion. No one could imagine such evil behind such faith. Some believe her piety was calculated, a shield against doubt. Others wonder if she saw herself as an instrument of fate, sending souls to judgment. Whatever her motives, her faith became her armor. When rumors arose, her reputation silenced them. Jegado's duality, pious on the surface, deadly beneath, remains a chilling study in deception. For years, Jegado's crimes went unnoticed, but patterns began to emerge. Whispers followed her from job to job as deaths accumulated. Doctors who saw multiple victims started to connect the dots. In Rennes, Dr. Pinault noticed the recurring violent symptoms among those Jegado served. Suspicion grew, especially after the death of Rose Tessier, a fellow servant. Unlike rural villages, city authorities in Rennes took notice and launched an investigation. Bodies were exhumed and the Marsh test, a new forensic tool, revealed arsenic. The evidence was undeniable. The trusted cook was a serial poisoner. The whispers became a roar, and Jegado's mask finally slipped. The angel of death in the kitchen was unmasked at last. The arrest of Helene Jegado sent shockwaves through Brittany. After years of suspicion and whispers, the authorities finally had their suspect in custody. The small communities where she had worked and lived were stunned. Her trial in 1851 quickly became a national sensation. The public was captivated by the unfolding drama, eager to learn the details of the alleged poisoner. Newspapers across France covered the proceedings extensively, fueling public interest and anxiety. The prosecution meticulously linked her to dozens of deaths, presenting a compelling case built on circumstantial evidence and emerging scientific knowledge. They argued that Jegado's presence was a consistent factor in the untimely demise of numerous individuals. Doctors and chemists provided damning evidence, detailing the presence of poison in the victims' remains. This marked a significant moment in forensic science, as experts used cutting-edge techniques to uncover the truth behind the suspicious deaths. Their testimonies were crucial in building a strong case against Jegado. Throughout the trial, Jegado maintained her innocence, vehemently denying any involvement in the deaths. She portrayed herself as a victim of circumstance, caught in a web of suspicion and misunderstanding. She would often burst into tears, invoking religious figures and swearing by her faith to attest to her innocence. Her dramatic displays were aimed at swaying the jury and garnering sympathy from the public. She never confessed to any wrongdoing, insisting that she was merely cursed by misfortune, an unfortunate soul surrounded by tragedy. She attributed the deaths to a series of coincidences and divine intervention. But the jury remained unmoved by her pleas. The overwhelming pattern of death that followed her was simply too clear to ignore. The evidence presented painted a damning picture, revealing a consistent link between Jegado and the victims. She was ultimately found guilty of murder and sentenced to death by guillotine. The case was historic, marking one of the first instances where forensic toxicology played a crucial role in convicting a suspected serial killer. On February 26, 1852, Helene Jegado was publicly executed in Rennes, drawing a large crowd eager to witness the final act of this infamous case. Even in her final moments, she continued proclaiming her innocence, steadfastly maintaining her denial of any involvement in the poisonings. She met her fate with a surprising calmness, showing little outward emotion as she faced the executioner. Jegado refused a final drink and offered no confession, leaving many to wonder if she truly believed in her innocence or was simply unwilling to admit her guilt. Her execution brought an end to an 18-year reign of terror that had haunted the region, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and lingering fear. The quiet servant from Brittany, once an unassuming figure, was finally brought to justice, her name forever etched in the annals of criminal history. Jegado's story became a landmark in criminology and forensic science. She shattered the myth that female killers acted only from passion or desperation. Her case proved that evil could be methodical, patient, and hidden behind a smile. The Marsh test's success marked a turning point. Poisoners could now be caught. Jegado's crimes forced doctors and police to look deeper when faced with sudden deaths. Her legacy is a warning. Trust can be deadly, and evil often wears a familiar face. She was not an outsider. She was invited in, exploiting the very intimacy meant to protect. In Brittany, her name lingers, a dark reminder of the pious poisoner who served death for 18 years.